Hey everyone, are you ready to maybe feel a little bit rich today? Well, we're about to talk about a coin that is worth a lot more than its face value. We're going to be talking about the £5 British gold coin.
Mhm.
You also might know it as the quintuple sovereign. I'm Harry Ohari, and I gotta say, just talking about these coins makes me feel like I should be wearing a monocle and maybe like holding a cup of tea with my pinky out.
Well, I'm Kimi, and I can't promise the monocle or the perfect pinky lift, but I can promise you that this deep dive is going to be a lot more enriching than any tea party. We're going to be traveling through British history, looking at the art of these coins, and maybe uncovering stories of monarchs and myths along the way.
Okay, so monarchs and myths, and did you say millions of dollars?
Maybe we'll stumble across some million-dollar treasures.
Okay, now you've got my attention. So let's get started here. I know that our sources mentioned something called the Great Recoinage of 1816. That sounds pretty major. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, so the Great Recoinage was a really important moment in British monetary history because it marked the time when they officially adopted the gold standard. The value of the pound sterling was linked to a certain amount of gold.
Okay, so that kind of sets the stage for the world of gold coinage that we're about to be talking about.
It does.
Okay, so was the £5 coin kind of like Britain flexing its muscles, like, hey, look at us, we're on the gold standard and we have these huge gold coins?
Well, it's interesting because while that might seem like the case at first glance, it was a little more complicated than that. There was actually some hesitation to create coins that were larger than the sovereign, which was the £1 gold coin,
Okay.
because banknotes were mainly used for the larger transactions back then.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably a lot easier to carry around banknotes than like, pockets full of these £5 coins.
Right.
Okay, so when did they finally make this £5 coin?
Well, the very first one was struck in 1820,
Okay.
but there is a twist, and it's what makes it really valuable today. It was just a pattern coin.
Oh.
It wasn't meant for general circulation. It was basically just a prototype,
Okay.
and it featured King George III.
So a pattern coin, does that mean that there are only like a few of these out in the world, like little treasures just waiting to be discovered?
You've got only about 25 are known to exist.
Wow.
And they were mostly given to like royal mint officials and prominent people who collected coins back in the day.
Oh man. Can you imagine finding one of these in your attic?
I know, right?
So speaking of making history, there's a story about this 1820 coin that sounds almost too good to be true. It's about this engraver who was racing against time to finish the coin before the king died. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the story is that this really famous engraver, Benedetto Pastrucci, was under so much pressure to get this coin design done before King George III died.
Right.
It just adds a little bit of intrigue to an already special coin. However, historical records show that the dies weren't actually done until after the king had passed away.
Oh.
So the story's a little more complicated.
Oh, that's too bad. Pastrucci, all that work for nothing.
Right.
But it definitely makes that coin a little more interesting. Something surrounded by mystery. So we've got this super rare 1820 coin. What happened next? Did they just keep making them, or did something else happen?
Well,
Did the £5 coin take a little break?
it did actually. The £5 coin didn't become like a regular coin right away.
Okay.
They made a few more during the reigns of George IV and William IV.
Right.
But it wasn't until the Victorian era that it really became like its own thing.
The Victorian era, and
Yeah.
so much grandeur and romanticism and,
Yeah.
just like intricate details.
Exactly.
So I can only imagine the artistry that was going on with the coins from this time. I know that our sources mentioned a really beautiful £5 piece from 1839. Can you tell me about that one?
Yeah, the 1839 £5 coin is really something special. It shows just how much the Victorians appreciated art and symbolism.
Okay.
But instead of having like the traditional portrait of the monarch,
Right.
it's got this really cool scene on it. It's from Edmund Spenser's poem, The Fairy Queen.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It shows this beautiful maiden named Una, and she's leading a lion.
Oh, wow.
And they symbolize like purity and strength.
So they basically chose a literary scene over the king or queen's face.
They did.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you how they thought about these coins.
Yeah.
They weren't just money. They were like mini pieces of art,
Yeah, exactly.
So I bet that Una and the lion coin is super valuable today.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the most sought after coins in the world.
Wow.
Only around 400 were ever made.
Wow.
And they can be worth millions.
Millions.
Yeah, like in 2021, one sold for over £1 million.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Man, that's incredible. But I'm curious, did the £5 coin ever become something that everyday people used? I mean, did it go from being like a collector's item or, just a sign of wealth to something that you might use to buy groceries or something?
It did eventually. It took a while, but in 1887, they made the Jubilee coinage. And that was the first time that anyone could get their hands on a 5-pound coin.
Okay.
But a lot of people still treated it like a souvenir.
Right. It's like having a little piece of history in your pocket, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So did the design keep changing with each new king or queen, or did they kind of keep it the same over the years?
Well, the design has always kind of reflected what was going on at the time. And of course, the monarch who was in power, so Queen Victoria, she was known for having, a strong personality and this really big empire.
Yeah.
So she actually had them add Empress of India to the inscription on the coin.
Oh, wow.
So it's like these coins were little canvases for showing political and social changes.
That's really interesting. So each coin tells a story way beyond just how much it's worth.
Okay.
But before we go too far down the Victorian rabbit hole, there's another 5-pound piece that I'm really interested in hearing about. The one from 1937 with Edward VIII.
Oh, yeah. That one's got a lot of drama surrounding it.
I bet. So why is the Edward VIII 5-pound piece so special? I mean, we've already talked about some pretty rare coins.
Well, it's because it represents this moment in history that was completely unexpected.
Okay.
They had already made pattern coins with Edward VIII's face on them, and they were all ready to release them to the public, but then he went and abdicated the throne.
Yeah.
So it totally messed everything up, and the coin never actually made it into circulation.
So now it's like this super rare collector's item.
Right.
So this coin, it's almost like a what if, what if Edward VIII had stayed king? What would have happened?
Yeah, it makes you think.
Do we know how much one of those coins is worth?
Well, the value has just skyrocketed over the years, because it's so rare.
Yeah.
In 2021, one that was in perfect condition sold for over £1.5 million.
Wow. Over £1 million for one coin.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it really makes you think about these coins differently. It's like they're not just metal. They're these little pieces of history.
Yeah.
Each one with its own story to tell. So with Edward VIII out of the picture, did his brother George VI end up on a 5-pound coin? Or did the Royal Mint just say, okay, we need a break from all this drama?
It's crazy to think that these coins are so connected to the kings and queens. Did George VI ever get his own 5-pound coin, or did they just decide to take a break from all the drama?
Well, George VI did have his own 5-pound coin designed.
Okay.
But it was kind of like the Edward VIII coin. It was mostly meant to be in special sets of coins.
Okay.
Not really for everyday use.
So it seems like by then the 5-pound coin had become a special thing, for collectors and to celebrate big events. Did that continue with Queen Elizabeth II, or did things change when she became queen?
Well, Queen Elizabeth II's reign was kind of a turning point for the coin.
Okay.
So at first they made a few in 1953 and 1957.
Right. But they weren't for the public.
So they were still keeping it kind of low-key just for collectors and special occasions. When did they start making more 5-pound coins again?
Yeah, so in the 1980s, people started getting really interested in these coins again. And the Royal Mint, they noticed that people really wanted to collect them.
Yeah.
So starting in 1980, they started making 5-pound gold coins pretty much every year.
Every year?
Yeah, the only year they didn't make one was 1983.
Wow, so the 5-pound coin really became a regular thing during Queen Elizabeth II. Did they keep using the same old designs, or did they do anything new and exciting that collectors would love?
They did use the classic St. George and the Dragon design a lot.
Yeah.
But they also made some really cool commemorative coins,
Oh, those are always fun.
Yeah.
What kind of commemorative designs did they make during Queen Elizabeth II's reign?
Well, in 2002, they celebrated her Golden Jubilee.
Okay.
So they made a coin with a crown and a shield on it. It was really pretty. And then in 2005 and 2012, they got these artists to do new versions of St. George and the Dragon.
That's cool. So they mixed it up a bit.
They did.
Okay, so they honored the old designs, but also tried new things.
Yeah.
Did they keep making those commemorative coins later in her reign, or did they go back to the traditional stuff when King Charles III became king?
Oh, they definitely kept going with the special designs.
Okay.
In 2015, they started using a new portrait of the Queen.
Okay.
And then in 2016, they made one with a different portrait. Yeah, and in 2017, they celebrated 200 years of the sovereign.
Wow.
So they made a 5-pound coin with the same design as the very first sovereign from 1817.
That's amazing. So they really used these coins to celebrate all sorts of things. Did that continue after Queen Elizabeth II passed away, or Did they do something different to mark the new king?
Well, even with the new king, they still use the 5-pound coin for special occasions.
Huh.
So in 2022, they made coins to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee,
Okay.
and they had a really beautiful design of the royal arms on the back.
That's nice. So they honored her memory.
They did.
And then what about King Charles III? Did they put him on any coins?
Of course. So after the Queen passed away, they made memorial coins,
Okay.
and they had the first official portrait of King Charles III on them.
Wow. And I bet they made a special coin for his coronation.
You bet they did.
Okay.
In 2023, they made a 5-pound coin just for that.
Okay.
It had the king's portrait on one side
Right.
and the classic St. George and the Dragon on the other side.
Oh, wow. So they mixed the old and the new.
Yeah, it's like a symbol of moving forward while still remembering the past.
Exactly. It seems like they've really made these 5-pound coins into a tradition, for marking important events. So do you think they'll keep doing that, or do we have any idea what they might do next with the designs?
Well, for 2024, they're going to use a portrait of the king without his crown
Okay.
and the St. George and the Dragon on the back, and they're going to do that for all the sovereign coins.
Oh, wow. So they're really keeping the tradition alive. That's amazing. It's incredible to think how far this coin has come from. Those first few pattern coins back in the 1800s. It's really become a symbol of Britain and its history and art.
It really has, and it shows how something that started as just money can become so much more,
I know. It's like a little piece of art and a history lesson all rolled into one. So is there anything special planned for 2025, or are they keeping that a secret?
Well, 2025 is a pretty big anniversary for one of the 5-pound coin designs.
Really?
Yeah, they're going to celebrate 200 years of the royal arms designed by Jean-Baptiste Merlin.
Wow. So they're bringing back a classic to mark the occasion. I love that it's like connecting the past and present through these coins.
It really is. It makes you wonder what people will think when they look at these coins years from now,
I know. It's amazing to think about all the stories these coins could tell about our time and the kings and queens and the art that we made.
It's been so much fun talking about all this with you.
Me too. And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the 5-pound British gold coins. It's been a real treat exploring its history and all the fascinating stories behind it. Until next time, keep on collecting and keep on learning.